Assalamu alaikum. إن الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the heavens and the world. I want everyone in this audience right now, everyone listening, to think about this question I'm going to ask right now. Youth, old, whatever. Have you ever thought to yourself, what is it like to be a Muslim in America? What is it like? I mean, there are Muslims all across the world who make up around 25% of the population. And there's been Muslims for 1,400 years, all across different eras, times, etc. There's been Muslims in many different places, going through many different things. And I've always wanted to wonder, what makes being a Muslim in America, what makes Muslim in California unique? And so in this khutbah, I really wanted to talk about the feelings of being a Muslim in the West. Specifically, what is our reputation and how do we handle it? So in this khutbah, I'm going to talk about what Muslims of the West, what is our reputation, and how do we handle this reputation? What do we do about it? First off, I'm going to start off with one thing. What exactly is our reputation? We all know ever since 9/11, the reputation of Muslims has been very controversial in American society. But overall, a lot of people have positive opinions about us. Some people have negative opinions. A lot of these negative opinions happen to be that Muslims are commonly seen as backwards. I'm not talking about the whole radical Muslim terrorist thing. I'm talking about the portrayal that the media has about us a lot. A lot of Muslims are seen as backwards because of us covering up or remaining abstinent from drugs, alcohol, intercourse, etc. All of those things. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, one common cliche that we see in a lot of Western shows, a lot of things, is about a Muslim, typically a Muslim woman, who's being oppressed by her community, who's being held down because she's wearing a hijab, because she doesn't take drugs or alcohol, because she doesn't do this or that. And she ends up meeting these non-Muslims, these white people. They come and they tell her that your life is horrible, you need to start partying, you need to start drinking, you need to start doing all of this stuff. And she ends up doing that, and then she realizes, oh, this is what I've been missing out on, and then it causes a whole rift between her community, typically villainizing Islam and villainizing the Muslim community, to show that American lifestyle and all of this stuff is good. And it's a common trend that I see a lot. It's mainly just for story and for selling, but it does put a negative image about Islam a lot. It does make us seem backwards, and that's the, that's the negative impact of it. So I want to talk about it. Why exactly, first of all, why is it good that we remain away from these stuff? Because I know every Muslim in here, or at least most of you guys have been asked this question. How do you live your life without drinking? How do you live your life without doing drugs? How do you live your life without this or that? And we're always asked this question, but what's not told is how better off our lives are without drugs, alcohol. And I mean, there's so much research about how, the negative things that alcohol causes, let's say, car accidents, domestic violence, etc. So many horrible things come from alcohol, and we're staying away from it. And so on and so forth. My point is that our lives are so much better without it. And I could just say it, but I have the stats to prove it as well. According to the Pew Research Center, which is a very established, I'd say, center for statistics, very unbiased, they did research on Muslim Americans around the time of the election in 2016. And they came out with the fact that Muslims have higher marriage rates, have a really good rate on education, and 4 out of 5 Muslims in America are said to be satisfied with their lives. And this is a really common thing. Mental health is a really big problem here in America. But when we look at it in the general aspect, Muslims are pretty happy with their lives. And it just shows, our faith and our, relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our religion does wonders to us. And it's a really good thing about our lives. So now I want to talk about how do we handle our reputation as Muslims. Because obviously in America, people are going to have opinions about us and our religion. You see, Muslims are a part of a group. And whatever we do, as individual as it can be, it is going to represent Islam in the Muslim community. It's just how it is. And it's not necessarily something that's, how do I say it, exclusive to Muslims. This is something that applies to everyone, Muslim, non-Muslim. I mean, a really sad example of this, it happens to be with the Christian communities, like those down the street right there. A lot of people assume that all Christians are hateful, vile people who just spread hate and harass people who aren't as Christian as they are. But there are really good Christians out there who are helpful. I mean, the ones down the street lend their parking lot for us to pray, they're really helpful. But like I said, they have a negative reputation because people tend to focus on the negatives. Same thing with racial groups, with black people, with Hispanic people, etc. It's the same exact story. So, and it's the same thing with Muslims. So how do we handle this? Well, for starters, one thing Muslims should do is we should always combat these negative stereotypes with positive things. We should always strive to do good in the world. We should always be helping out people. A friend of mine gave a talk last week about the importance of volunteering, but he stressed the importance of doing good and how it relates to Islam. And he talked about simple things such as charity, service, going out there, helping the poor, setting up things for organizations to help them out. Even things such as smiling. Smiling is even something. Or even something such as, being active politically, helping out, or, being outspoken about issues that are going around the world. When we are outspoken about this, we are representing our faith, and we are being good Muslims. One of my favorite stories happens to be about this man back in the Prophet's time, who saw a woman carrying a heavy load and taking it back to her home. This man decided to help this old lady. And as he was helping her carry the goods, this old lady started to ramble about this man named Muhammad, who was causing distress and fights among the community. Misleading the poor and youth, misleading families, separating families, just causing so much distress within the community, saying she's so upset with this man. He used to be so good, but now he's doing all of this stuff. This man quietly helped her with her goods and eventually transported them with her to her home. Before he left, this woman asked this man, "What is your name?" And the man said, "My name is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." And she accepted Islam on the spot. And this just shows when we represent Islam properly and when we represent the Muslim community properly, we are going to not only have a positive, a positive representation of Muslims and Islam across the world, but we might even bring people to Islam. And my last and final point, just something I want to throw in there. I know it's not necessarily something, but it's, don't be afraid to represent Islam. Of course, I mentioned that we have this badge that is constantly going to be with us as soon as people know we're Muslims, that we are going, we are Muslim. But what I'd like to add on is, don't be afraid of your faith. Don't be afraid to tell people that you're Muslim. I know that there is a very negative stigma of Muslims in America, and we've seen it. I can talk about it all the time. I can spend so much time talking about it, and you guys know. But why should you fear this? In America, we have freedom of religion. We have the right to practice whatever religion we want. So be proud of your faith. Be Muslim and show it out there. Don't be afraid of it. One thing I see a lot within the mainstream media is that a lot of celebrities, they're not Muslim. But a lot of celebrities, whether they be actors, athletes, etc., a lot of them go and directly praise God. They go out of their way and they praise their God. They say, praise God, thank God. Without God, I wouldn't be here. And I noticed that we Muslims should be doing this just as actively and just as publicly, not towards our own community, but towards people as a whole. We should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for what He has done for us. Anytime something good happens, just say, I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I wouldn't be here, etc. So on and so forth. Don't hesitate in doing this stuff. One time I was watching a football game and I see this man giving the sujood sahwi, and it was one of the most beautiful things I saw after he scored a touchdown. Because we see so many people after good things, they praise their gods. Christians have their thing, so on and so forth. Muslims should exercise their things publicly too. Which leads me to my next point. And one thing that I recommend all of you guys to do, and something that I genuinely enjoy doing, and that is to pray in public. I've heard stories of people who were so afraid of praying in public they just didn't want to do it in their workplace, or whether they were just in public and they didn't feel comfortable praying, so they would pray at home. All of their namaz, all of their salahs, they would pray it at home. And while I understand that sometimes, the comfort of your room is much better, I totally understand it. At the same time, the feeling of praying in public is something that's unmatched. It's an amazing feeling. And I have a personal story to share. I remember I went to Universal Studios with my family around the day, on the day actually, of the infamous Christchurch shooting. If you guys remember what I'm talking about, where a gunman went into masjids, a horrible story, don't want to get into it. And after seeing all of the stuff, and even hearing their own politicians say that it is their Muslims' fault, when they come to our country, this is what they get, there's something along the lines of those stuff, just really vile, racist, xenophobic things. It genuinely hit me as a Muslim, and I felt afraid of praying. I felt like something was stopping me from praying right then and there. And it wasn't just, the thing of shaitan, like I'm lazy, I just don't feel like praying. It was fear. But I overcame that fear and I said, no, I'm going to pray here. It's my right as a Muslim, as an American, it's my right as a person to exercise my religion freely, and I wasn't bothering anyone. So I prayed. And later down the line, say many months after, I went to Universal again, and I had to pray Maghrib this time. And I went to the back alley and I prayed Maghrib. As I was finishing my salah, someone came towards me, and he was a worker. And I was thinking I might have done something wrong, I was going to get in trouble, so I was going to just leave. But he asked me, what were you doing there? And I explained to him what I was doing, I was praying. And he said, oh yeah, I grew up with a certain religion, but I don't really follow that religion anymore, and I'm just really interested in other religions, and I wanted to see what you were doing. And him and I eventually had a small conversation. I explained to him what Islam was, I explained to him whatever I could in a small time frame, because I had to return to my family eventually. But the point was that the small action of me praying in public eventually helped someone learn about Islam. And it is such a beautiful thing. And ever since then, I realized praying in public is genuinely such a beautiful experience. Whether you're praying in a park, you're praying in the city, you're praying downtown LA, you're praying wherever, when you're praying in public, it is an amazing feeling. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله إن الله غفور رحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So my khutbah today, I typically talk about things such as Islamophobia or issues that Muslims face, but this time I just wanted to get into the heart of being an American Muslim. What is it like? And I wanted to talk about what do other people think about it, the stigmas. We have positive stigmas towards us. I don't know if that's a proper word. We have positive stigmas towards us. We have people who respect our communities, respect their things. But on the other hand, we have other people who believe that we are backwards minded. We aren't, fit as Americans. Our religion isn't something that is American. And to that I say that the things that they so-called claim doesn't make us American are just things that take away and cause pain towards our lives. And remaining abstinent from these things makes our lives so much better, health-wise, mentally-wise, so on and so forth. And Muslims tend to be happier than non-Muslims. And then I talked about what we should do actively as Muslims in the West. I talked about how we should fight these negative stigmas by doing good in our community, helping anyone out, whether it may be something small, whether it may be something big, just help someone out. It's the concept of volunteering, the concept of just doing good in the community, how it's not just good for your good deeds, it leaves a positive impact upon Islam. And I ended it with being proud of your Islamic identity. Don't hide it. Be a proud Muslim. Go and pray in public. Go and use Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's name freely. Go out of your way to use it. Do it. It feels so much better and it is so much better. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive anyone going forget all Muslims and to grant all Muslims in Jannah. Allah, I ask you to help any Muslims going through rough times right now. These have been rough times for the past few years. Allah, I ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to help all the Muslims who are being oppressed by their governments in China, in Palestine, and in Burma, all across the world. Allah, ask you to help give them sabr and grant them freedom. And
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salam. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي خلق الخلق ووسع الرزق وأفاض على العالمين أصناف الأموال وابتلاهم فيها بتقلب الأحوال. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. أما بعد، فيا معشر الإخوان، اعلموا أن من آداب المعاشرة الإسلامية آداب الأموال بأداء وظائفها، فإنها حياة يتقى من سمها وينتفع من ترياقها، ولا يستطاع ذلك إلا بعد معرفتها. فالوظائف المالية 5، منها تصحيح النية في الكسب والإنفاق بأداء حقوق الله تعالى والعباد. اتقوا يا عباد الله محاسبة يوم التناد، فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن لكل أمة فتنة وإن فتنة أمتي المال. وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام: دعوا الدنيا لأهلها، من أخذ من الدنيا فوق ما يكفيه أخذ حتفه وهو لا يشعر. قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله، ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم، ونفعنا وإياكم منه بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. إنه تعالى جواد كريم. قديم ملك بر رؤوف رحيم ورب حليم. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا كما أمر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له إرغاما لمن جحد به وكفر. وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد الخلائق والبشر. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد نور القلب وقرة العين وعلى آل محمد. فيا أيها المشتاقون إلى رؤيا جماله صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما، خصوصا منهم ذي الأصل العريق أمير المؤمنين سيدنا أبي بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى زاهد الأواب أمير المؤمنين سيدنا أبي حسن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى جامع القرآن كامل الحياء والإيمان سيدنا عثمان بن عفان رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى أسد الله الغالب أمير المؤمنين سيدنا علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله تعالى عنه، وعلى تمام العشرة المبشرة، وعلى سائر الصحابة والتابعين ورضوان الله تعالى عليهم أجمعين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين، اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين، واخذل الكفرة والمبتدعة والمشركين، وكن اللهم حافظهم وموئدهم وناصرهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم شتت شمل أعداء الدين ومزق جمعهم يا مبيد الظالمين. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، واخذل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، واجعل اللهم آمنة مطمئنة سائر بلاد المسلمين، واكتب اللهم الستر والسلامة والعافية علينا وعلى عبيدك الحجاج والغزاة والمسافرين في برك وبحرك من أمة محمد أجمعين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة واغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله العلي العظيم يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر. الله يعلم ما تصنعون. أقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله